I came into Yakuza 0 mostly blind, not too many expectations, just curiosity. I mean, I had heard about the sheer absurdity of the Yakuza franchise, the wild stories, the over-the-top fights, the chaos, and of course the karaoke. But only after I had played a few hours did I realize how truly unprepared I was.
You are not prepared!
The first minute I'm caught in a serious crime drama, the next I'm helping a dominatrix build confidence, and then I'm suddenly breakdancing like Eddie Gordo. So let's talk about it, because this is my retrospective review of Yakuza 0. The Yakuza franchise is one that's been around for over 20 years, spanning more than 20 games including spin-offs, a movie, and even a TV show. And having never touched a single Yakuza game before, it seemed only fitting that Yakuza 0, being the prequel in the series, was the perfect launching point for my first foray into the franchise. Especially now with the director's cut releasing on Steam in the weeks to come, I was rushing to get into this Japanese gangster-inspired action-adventure beat-em-up. Obviously, the game has aged, but what I found surprising was that even by today's standards, the original game still feels broad and deep in its gameplay, story, side quests, and minigames. Starting with the visuals, Yakuza 0 still looks fantastic. If you pay close attention, you will notice that it's obviously not of this decade, but all things considered, it holds up really well. Especially considering these are the original graphics, this isn't a remaster, a remake, or even enhanced. The character models also look great. The facial animations in particular are really expressive and do a lot to help with showing character emotions. And as a result, the storytelling benefits greatly from this. I do think the main characters have been built a little awkwardly though, almost comically so. Most of the side characters are unique and look really true to life, like real people, but to me the twin protagonists almost look artificial in comparison. It's not really an issue though, and the emotions and storytelling more than make up for it. The cityscape and world you're given to explore are also really detailed, and this goes for both the open world exploration and when you're inside of the buildings themselves. Granted, the camera work can be janky and annoying, especially whilst indoors or in tight spaces, but it's not game breaking. I did find the lock-on mechanic isn't great during combat because you have to hold it, and it just doesn't feel great for me, so I mostly didn't use it. I'm normally not a fan of the lock-on mechanic, but for once I actually would have preferred a toggle, mainly for the boss fights. They honestly weren't too hard, but it can just be distracting trying to fight both the boss and the camera at the same time. So, how does Yakuza 0 sound? I wouldn't say the music in Yakuza 0 is too standout on its own, but there is an electric energy that comes through. Like, there's definitely charm to some of its funky tunes and action sequences, but I think it's outshined by both the visuals and storytelling. There's obviously a lot of variety to its tracks, as you'd expect from a game of this size, and it's very serviceable, but it's not super memorable. Funnily enough, the music during the minigames ended up being some of the better songs. The variety and range is interesting, and it's probably got more depth than I give it credit for, but I'm no musician, and as a layman, it's mostly fine. It's a great time, but not something that's spectacular or will blow you away. As for the voice acting, there's no English dub, so if that's a deal breaker for you, this ain't it, chief. For those that understand Japanese or don't mind subtitles, the voice acting is really good. Unfortunately, I don't understand much Japanese, so some nuance is naturally lost, but the emotional intent is always clear. There's always been a certain intensity to Japanese voice acting that really adds to their storytelling, and that's evident here as well. I mean, some of it is a bit over the top, but I personally think that's part of the charm. Whether it's a brutal shakedown or a ridiculous side quest, Yakuza 0 plays it all completely straight, and that's what makes it so good. Something else I noticed is that the English localization is top notch. Like, they may not be that literal in that translation, but it's done in a way that's easily understandable and easy to follow. It's genuinely some of the best I've seen. Hey, enjoying this video? Consider subscribing. Most viewers still haven't, and if you're not, well...
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Okay, on to the meat of the game, the gameplay. At its core, Yakuza 0 is an old school action focused beat 'em up, and it's awesome. Yes, it can get a bit button mashy, which I definitely fell into at times too. the experience just reminded me of this really old game called Fighting Force. The difference here though is depth. Both Kiryu and Majima, the two playable protagonists, have 3 individual stances to choose from, each with their own upgrade trees and combat abilities. During combat you can switch between the 3 styles on the fly, and also have a 4th option which allows you to use an equipped weapon, including guns. And even though the game doesn't do a great job in explaining everything, including how to equip or select weapons, it's easy enough to figure out. It's down on the D-pad, by the way. As an action-focused beat-em-up game, Yakuza 0 embraces its primal form. And it does so unapologetically. It's absolutely insane balls-to-the-wall fun. Now, the gameplay does also show its age. There's an over-reliance on invisible walls, especially during missions, and even as someone who prefers more linear games, I found it a little annoying too. What isn't annoying is the amount of content packed into this thing. There's 100 sub-stories, over 100 usable weapons, 4 arcade games, and even a claw machine minigame. There's also a heap of real-world style activities: bowling, mahjong, fishing, darts, pool, pocket racing, these Japanese gambling games, and of course karaoke. Oh, and there's also these collectible telephone card things, which have their own, reward? They actually reminded me of the old Witcher romance cards. And that's not even mentioning the real estate royale sim, the Japanese catfight club matches, or my personal favourite, the cabaret club management minigame. And these aren't just simple games, there's proper mechanics built in with a lot of depth and variables at play. I mean, How Long to Beat claims a full completionist run takes around 145 hours, and though I was doing the bare minimum, I definitely would have put more time in this game if I wasn't making this video. The sub-stories, or side quests, deserve a mention too. Most of them boil down to fights, but the stories, though simple, can be quite amusing in themselves. Some are heartfelt, some hilarious, and some outright weird, but almost always entertaining. I didn't get to finish them all, but every one I played felt different. The design had some rough edges, but the through line was consistent and helped to solidify the franchise's identity. One that I actually found myself really appreciating. These games are self-aware in the best possible way, and the things it does really well. Like, I think some people will find the restrictions and gameplay jarring, especially when compared to the freedoms afforded to us in today's more modern titles. But when you get going in this game, the gameplay loop is dangerously addictive. The random combat encounters, for example, didn't get annoying even after 30 odd hours, where in other games it normally start to wear me down. And as time poor as I was, I kept finding myself wanting to go back to play the minigames, especially the real estate and cabaret club ones. Hey, are you liking this content? Maybe you should drop us a like, it really helps the channel. If not, tell me what I can improve. I do read all the comments. Now, here's where things get interesting. The story. This might be controversial, but I actually didn't mind the live action show. It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst. Now, after finishing Yakuza 0 though, yeah, I can see why it didn't do so well. And the game's story is miles better. What surprised me most is how layered it is. There are genuine heartfelt and even heartbreaking moments buried in the story. And the absurd action actually makes the emotional beats hit harder. Like, the contrast adds so much to the narrative. It honestly feels like a high-budget political gangster drama. The kind that mixes tension, betrayal, action, with deep nuanced themes and trauma and tragedy and personal struggle. RGG simultaneously weaves 2 fine storylines through an intricate and complex political crime story filled with intrigue and twists in fantastic fashion. It reminded me so much of those old Hong Kong gangster films I grew up watching. Stylish, dramatic, emotional, and more thoughtful than you'd expect. There's a really interesting story here with real character development. And for me, it's easily the biggest factor that elevates the entire experience. It's actually such a beautifully put together package. The characters are another highlight. I expected Kiryu to carry the whole story. I mean, he is the face of the franchise after all. But Majima completely stole the show for me. He's complex, unpredictable, layered, and easily one of the most interesting characters I've played in video games. His internal conflict and the way he navigates loyalty, morality, and personal sacrifice. In a lot of ways, he's actually more than just another anti-hero, and is done extremely well. Like, Kiryu's still great, but he's comparatively straighter, cleaner, simpler. Nishiki actually ended up feeling more interesting in some aspects, even though he's a supporting character. But again, Majima just has more depth and to me feels much more relatable. And that actually makes it more interesting because this is an origin story, one that shapes both these characters into who they become in the first Yakuza game. And the supporting cast, surprisingly varied and interesting in their own right. Sure, some characters lean into the tropes, but most avoid the usual archetypes and feel refreshingly distinct. Now, the story isn't perfect. The game definitely shows its age in pacing, especially the cutscenes. I mean, most games have exposition, usually delivered through those cutscenes, and Yakuza 0 is no different. And I normally really enjoy cutscenes, but here some of them just drag a little too much. During the ending, my controller actually disconnected from inactivity. Having said that, I don't necessarily think it's the game's fault. It's a product of its time. This is a 10-year-old game, and considering the complexity it's juggling, the pacing is actually handled better than a lot of other games. The real issue is that my short-form adult 2025 brain, and probably yours too, struggles to focus for more than 20 seconds at a time. So yes, it can feel slow during portions, but the storytelling itself is strong and deliberate, and has far more depth and meaning than its reputation gives it any right to. Yakuza 0 is a really interesting game. The story has real substance and depth, with compelling characters and genuinely surprising twists. And the way the story bounces between two different perspectives is also really engaging. The combat, though simple, is just interesting enough and doesn't demand too much from you. There's also a heap of optional side content, including minigames or sub-stories or collectibles or side activities. Yakuza 0 is an exceptionally fun game. If you want an engrossing and interesting gangster crime drama and don't mind a smattering of over-the-top action, random encounters and hilarious absurdity, you'll have an excellent time. This game actually reminded me why I love trying out new games. They surprise you, challenge you, make you laugh, and occasionally punch you right in the gut. This prequel was an absolute pleasure to play, but the biggest problem is now I have yet another franchise to add to my huge backlog. And if the rest of the franchise is as enjoyable as this one, I cannot wait to check them all out. If you like open world games, care about deep complex stories, and don't mind a bit of silliness along the way, you might just enjoy this one. Yakuza 0 is a strong recommend from me, and it is definitely still worth playing today. Kiryu-chan! If you've managed to sit through this whole video, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to let me know what else you'd like to see in the comments. Hopefully, I'll catch you in the next one.